The ceremony of return. This is a fun one. So the ceremony of return is this is one of the next steps after what happens with the rite of transformation. So once you create the rite of transformation, it's like standing on a mirror of the entire universe. So when Erica and I did this spell back in 2007, I want to say, um, we lit the candles and we did the evocations to the planetary gates. And then it was another year after I came up with this one, after I'd already started going through and doing the Klipothic invocations. So I had already started walking the shadows of hell because I needed to get away from that serial killing son of a bitch that was involved in all of that. So, working with Thaumael, the darkest of the spheres, I was able to create an evocation that allowed for that connection to those planets. So the way that it worked is I set the candles, I set the gate, and it was a representation of a black bowl with water with a few drops of blood in it. And the conjuration reads, I am he who stands upon the nothingness and all. I am one who has come forth as the black and endless void. Here before me stands the gateway of all creation. I stand before the great gate of the construct, and I open the way as the master of the keys. I open the gate as the keeper of the way. Forth from the world to any other, it is now open before me. I am the father of creation. I am the master of creation. I am the progenitor of all things under will. Here and in this hour, I enter birthed by my art. I am born of myself, and I am given to myself of myself. I am created by the blood and the bone and the flesh and the will. I am an eternal extension of the collective. Here before the will, I have been outside. Here before the world, I have been created. Here before the world, I have observed. Here before the world, I enter. Here before the creation, no longer but a creator. So, in that, it took leaving the sphere of Thaumael, the place where Satan and Moloch are fighting for balance between themselves, right? They're the twins of God, but in their fallen form. So, by unifying the dark aspects of what is violence and darkness and wrath and all of the terrifying things, that was when this particular bit of magic came about, is because by offering the water, the blood, and blessing it by this conjuration, giving it back to the earth, was a way to return my consciousness to myself. It was a way to reclaim what I had lost through the interactions, through the darkest periods of what I was going through at the time. So what I had been doing is I had been bringing out the darkest natures of me, the demonic natures, the infernal aspects, so that way I could reconcile those things which hated against my abusers, hated against the people that threatened to kill me, hated against the people that threatened to kill my friends, hated the people that threatened to murder my friends and family. So I became a thing of violence. I became a thing of disruption. And so I needed to be able to return myself to that, where it was like it was when I had been outside because of the rite of transformation, because of being able to step outside and look at all of creation on the inside and see all of the threads of connection between one action and another, to see how it all interconnects. It was like walking the cube of Metatron, where you could actually see the entire strings of entanglement that connected every single living thing to every non-living thing, and it was such a beautiful experience. But recalling and reclaiming this aspect of darkness, this aspect of the infernal tree, it gave a sense of purpose. It gave a sense of power back to accept and embrace those dark aspects as, yes, this is part of who I am. yes, this is part of the thing that I was denying in myself. So that way, when I moved and when I acted, it was no longer as a slave of some god somewhere or some ideation somewhere. I became the creator in that moment when I gave my blood to the water, to the earth, the tree that I placed it under. So when I recreate these offering rituals, when I give blood back to the earth every year, it allows that return. So when I go through transformation processes, when I go through periods of change, it's through these principles of change that allow for these deeper connections to occur. So that way they occur more forcefully, they occur more viscerally. So that the magic that's expressed, it's not an intangible thing. Because, like I said in some other videos, I can't spit and not hit a spirit. And it's not because I try to invoke them or evoke them. It's not because I'm trying to do these things. I'm trying to work with the same energies that make up their being as they make up my own. Because I recognize that I'm just as much of a spirit in flesh as they are in whatever body and form that they are. So our natures in whatever time that we're existing are compatible because there is a like element of myself and a like element of those, so that it balances itself out, so that as we're moving forward it works out to be something generative. So opening up the keys and opening up the way and the construct of the way in whatever form it takes is a means by which you can do that. So this ceremony of return needs to be modified a little bit in accordance with what you're returning from. So as you name the gateway that you're creating in all creation, like if you're going to be evoking the elemental forces, or you're going to be bonding to the seals of them, or you're going to be conjuring up the various gateways of power, so outside of the planetary ones, the elemental ones, astrological ones, so that way you get the time zones down so that you can plot your place in creation in the moment of your summon, so that way it relates to where on earth those spirits will open, where on earth the gates will come. So that way, again, everything becomes very, very strategically placed. Like you're not just doing it for arbitrary reasons. No, you've planned it out. You know the structure. You know that it's coming from that star, and you know that the gate will have 2 points of anchorage, one on its left, one on its right, so that way it forms a giant triangle from the apex of where it's coming from the earth to there, from there to the earth. So it creates that box, it creates that gateway. So that way, as you create that stone pathway, or as you create the symbols, and you give it the blood, and you give it yourself, and you give it those aspects, even making a tincture out of the plant matter, so that way it becomes a different form of the living blood of the spirits of the plants. It becomes the liquid nature of it that you can then set on fire, that fire then becomes smoke, and then it goes back into the earth as ash. So that way it has the entire cycle built into it, allows you to create these ceremonies of return. So as I work on these new projects that I've got coming up over the next week, to open up and to do more timed rituals, so that way I've got it more in sync with the other world. So that way, as I get the gateway open on Samhain for the spirits of the dead and the ancestors and all the people that have passed over the last year, so that they can enter into the Great Gate, it allows for a reset to occur. So I'm going to be opening up the gates again. I'll be doing a ceremony of return. I'll be doing these things coming up this week, so that way what I add to the pumpkin cauldron, as it were, and I leave that out as offering, it becomes a bigger part of the liturgy that I'm creating for the sorcerers that I'll be training in the future. Like, this is all going into a deeper understanding and a deeper application of not only the energy in raw form, in alchemical anchor form, but also in a living offering, so that way we give back and we constantly feed the same things that we pull from. So that way, as we take, we give, and so on, and it becomes a cycle of renewal. And so that way, as we are renewed, by our own work and our own transformations through these things, we do the same to the energies of the earth itself. So that way, every year on the seasons, we give back accordingly. So, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.